evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, welcome back to another CGL Finals. And what a banger we've got for us tonight. We've got Pimp, Chimpers versus the Dallas Fellas. This is looking like quite the matchup, but Dallas Fellas sort of replicating the Owl team in their pretty mediocre season so far, right?
Yeah, they came in here, they finished the regular season, the regular tournament looking 4th place. But managed to come in through and take on Pimp Chimpers for the first spot. Pimp Chimpers and Dallas Fellas both come in newcomers to CGL. So I don't think there's anything we can really predict out of this. I think maybe you might give an edge to Dallas Fellas in just the sense that they came in from the lower bracket and maybe they've earned and worked their bit to really play here. But that's not to write off either of these teams right now. This is a clean slate, and all we can expect is some hopefully very, very good Overwatch sim.
Yeah, 4th place for Dallas Fellas in the regular season, but they only had a -4 map differential, which means that every game they played must have been so very close. Which means that, like you said, anything could happen. But Pimp Chimpers are the favorites coming into this, and they went pretty well in their regular season, 7-1. But, like you said, not a whole lot to report for both of these teams. Although I will say, if there's money down, I'm going to put some money down on Pimp Chimpers running the double bubble, simply from the emblem of their team and their team name, maybe, sort of.
See, I would agree with you, except I'm going to take the other end here. I'm going to put my money on the Dallas Fellas. Pimp Chimpers, just from our maybe a little advanced notice, don't look like they're quite up to their full roster. So I have to think that maybe you're looking at a team that isn't going to be quite playing up to their fullest extent. They still have Cypher there and George, but like their other big MVP players, George and Zytro, aren't there. Maybe it's just kind of an inconvenience of things, but when you look at maybe a couple of your different players for Pimp Chimpers just not being there, that might be key. Maybe something starts to crumble. Maybe you didn't put in enough time. I don't know. I'm going to go against you here, Sim. This could go either way.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, but as we said, Dallas Fellas have got their full roster with them, and Taigo and Sjord are the players to look out for them. If they're not to their full potential, it might be an upset, but I'm going to stick to my guns, and I'm going to say Pimp Chimpers are going to make it rain, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess in some ways we're in the EU, so they're also probably going to make it run, Sim. We're probably going to see a lot of brawl given these maps. We all know that this is the home of the Reinhardt Zarya comps, and with Zarya kind of looking a little less than stellar right now in some comps, we'll have to see what happens. Maybe we see some of these side comps. But it looks like we're just going to have to see where this goes.
Absolutely. It appears that both teams are ready to rock and roll as we head into Lijiang Tower. Fun little tidbit, this is both teams' favorite King of the Hill map, so this should be interesting. They likely have a lot of set plays of their own to go ahead and do their strategies here. It'll just be who can do it best.
We've seen a lot of these comps where people will run the sim into the windows, and it looks like we're starting right here on Night Garden, where we might see those sims come out right into the windows, maybe try to vie for that point really quickly. There's also the chance we get the Pharah here. You do have a lot of wide angles, Sim, that maybe you can take, and we'll just have to see what these teams come out with, as it looks like they're getting ready.
I would say that it's probably more likely to see an Echo right now, but as you said, it is EU, and I know that EU do favor the Pharah over the Echo a lot of the times, which is an interesting development from the region. That being said, a teleport straight up to point is also not to be shaken at here. The Rhine Orisa composition for Dallas Fellas, certainly something that has worked. In previous finals, I believe that you and I casted, in fact.
Actually.
Year 6 EU finals were pretty Rhine Orisa heavy.
I mean, you're looking at this, you have the Lucio 2 to give you just a little bit of speed. You're trying to get there first and get set up. You have the Mei for that space control. I mean, on the other side, there is that Pharah from Schwager there, and it looks like they're going to take that Dive McCree, everybody's favorite variant of Dive there. And that maybe what it takes to break that bumper open is between that combination of Pharah and the Winston.
It could potentially be, but the Mei will up early here as the bunker is hard and fast on point. Teleport will be destroyed here as Gerasora goes very low. We'll take the D-Mech. Cypher finding TRQ there. Shoerog will clap back and find another pick as well. Players missing for either side here, but numbers favoring Dallas Fellas, and they do have position off the point, which is exactly what this composition wants to do. The Pharah will get onto the point. and take out Vika there, potentially opening this wide open, but will be taken down there by the Zarya, who is horrendously low, and the point is unlocked for Dallas Fellas, but under heavy pressure here as Quackers will be diving in using his cooldowns to get there. He will be punished as the wall will collapse on top of him, and Dallas Fellas will hold this point.
I think they were trying to predict that sim strat because Shiraga really did get in there and took that teleport out right away, which slowed up those respawns, thinking they were going to be able to do that. And it looks like they're going to stay on it, but with the wall, sim wall coming in, that could be a big defense for Dallas Fells.
Certainly can, with the barrage coming online as well from Shoerog. That might just stop it entirely, as Bayern now in a little bit of trouble here, but 91% to his Earth Shatter on this Reinhardt. Very scary, he has it online now, but the Pimp Chimpers are in, and they're causing some chaos here. The neck already early through onto Pimp Chimpers. Back over Zealous, as now the numbers are in. If the Nano one to the Winston will not bode any fruit here, as the position is held strong. They will just not out in time to stop Aerial there getting out with that Valkyrie.
I think you were trying to Valkyrie there if you're Aerial to try and keep the fight alive, but it doesn't. I don't see what's going on. They're gonna give up that dive and go to the mirror comp, but there's Blizzard also coming online, and additionally having 4 ults on the side of Dallas Fells with 2 on the other side of Pimp Chimpers. That just doesn't read well for them, the sim.
Yeah, not really, and now with the ult disadvantage going into what could be final fight, the barrage has to be big, and it is. He finds 2. That is getting the Symmetra very, very low indeed. Coalescence now out in desperation here from Schmickel as they do begin to clap back and find picks to Dallas Fellas here. But Kapara in the sky, Shoerog will continue to find picks and just be a thorn in the side of Dallas Fellas, who are trying so desperately to hold on to this point. Shoerog will find one, but Quika will take him out. Now, as the overtime is imminent, the Pimp Chimpers have to touch here as Kazora will pull here the high noons from Cypher, and Desperation will get taken out. He doesn't get to pull the trigger in overtime. Ticking on down here as a lone Ana on the point, struggles desperately to hold it on. The Farah can't touch. The overtime is down, and Dallas Fellas with one hell of a start to this finals.
They knew exactly what they wanted to do, and they played their set pieces well. The unfortunate timing of those swaps to the Rein Zarya just really didn't pay off for Pimp Chimpers. You needed to hit that sooner. You were too already far behind in that ult economy, and then just resetting your tank ults there too really just kind of unfortunately left you in a bad play sim. And we'll have to see what changes come in. It looks like they're going to embrace the brawl on the side of Pimp Chimpers now and just really go hard on it. Meanwhile, Taigo is going to keep the Reaper. I thought that was just an emergency swap. It looks like maybe he'll stay on that Reaper. Reaper did get a buff recently, so that could be very, very big here for them.
It absolutely can, and it works similarly to the Junkrat. You're just trying to dump damage in as best as you can, but with that May Wall, some more targeted focus fire definitely favors the Reaper here, where you want either a Symmetra or a Reaper. Both players clash in this white room here. The May Wall out early from Dallas Fellas is now not available, but Taigo is in the team here, literally in their faces, doing a lot of damage. 30% is all. Cypher will take him out with a mine. 4% will fall, however, already, and a second May Wall will just be difficult to deal with for the Pimp Chimpers, who are even on picks but struggling to get through because of this May on this front line. Now the cooldowns are baited out, and Shoerog will go on a flank and find Schmickel here. A big pick will open that up, mainly no healing available for Dallas Fellas, but Shoerog will be punished for his transgressions, and Cypher fighting back as well, finding his 3rd pick of this fight, which has seemed to go on for a millennia. Dallas Fellas have the point already. Picks now Pimp Chimpers' way. They will flip the points.
The Junkrat, Cypher's Junkrat really came through in the clutch there. Clarker's been using that Maywall very, very well. They're just going to chase him out here, it looks like, and maybe take that space and maintain it. Why not just get the Zarya too, just really assert that dominance here. But they're doing very good. They were doing very good at maintaining that space and forcing them to take the fight where they want it. But Pimp Chimpers have just really gone even further to do so.
Yeah, the grab has to come out early here as Pimp Chimpers lost a player there, and the shadow will come out from Blackens as well. Does find 2, but the lightning noon doesn't net them anything, but it allows Cypher in the front line to clean up as the attention was on the Cowboy in the back. Now he's facing the slight issue of 2v1 here in the opponent's spawn. Does manage to get out as Taigo will fall to Gasora.
You committed a couple things there, but there's the ults are coming in. They do have the May Blizzard and the the Death Blossom coming in for Del's Fells, and they need to just take that space and play aggressively here. There's that block off though.
A lovely roll to initiate here from Quika as the pick down for Cypher, the man of the hour, the Junkrat with no hold guard, will find a double kill. To both supports here for Dallas Fellas, this is not looking good for them, and they are forced back once more, 60% on the points.
Cypher has really come to life here and made their presence known. I don't know if a Junkrat's a favorite pick for them, but this is definitely a place they feel really comfortable. And Del's Fells need to make that point. They have the ultimates to make a point here. They haven't spent much, but they have. Tygo manages to save himself.
Tygo goes off the edge, has to force himself to race on the will fall to the mind for Cypher once again. Kasora will fall here and picks it back at fourth. Quika going to work on this point, wants to take the duel with the Moira and sends a clean icicle. Although the W and ASD strafe will make that very difficult as Quika is 1 HP and will go down to aerial. Yes, there it is. Face out from Shurog, doesn't find him anything. The pressure is on now as overtime is here for Pimp Chimpers. They could win this all here now, but with no supports, it ain't looking good as the players from Dallas Fellas have finally burst the dams of Pimp Chimpers and they're flipping this point.
There's a lot of fights that I feel probably could have been differently. I wonder, they're giving up the Mei. Quicker is going to go to that Tracer. Yeah, you kind of struggled on that Mei, and you probably shouldn't have lost that fight. But you know what? That's fine. You've got control of the point, and that's what matters. But Pimp Chimpers is coming into several of their ultimates right now. That tire from Cypher is going to be a big game changer and a big winner here. The tire is looking for it. He's setting up for something big.
Tygo wants this Death Blossom. He drops down from above. The bubble is used, and the Zarya is in trouble. Kasora will fall, and Quika finds a slap to the back. Looks dead. Tygo finds another pick, and it was over as soon as it started that fight. That Death Blossom just opened it wide open.
It was a good use for Del's Fells to they've committed one ult, they knew exactly what they wanted to do, the communication was clear and crisp, and he waited very well. Tygo looking very crisp there. But Garosa does have Gravitas Surge coming back online, so that could be a game winner in itself. The time is running out for Pimp Chimpers. They need to make a statement here.
They do indeed. They need to win this fight right here and now. They have the ultimate to go, and Kasora doesn't want to hang around anymore. Charles will find a grab, Tracer, a big grab and a big tire, and Pimp from Crackers make sure that they have the numbers to flip this point, and it's just going to be a matter of can anyone from Dallas Fellas touch this point now. It looks like Spickel's going to be the person to do just that, but it's a lone Moira and they're not going to survive very long. Cypher will take out Bayern, trying to get back to this point, and Cypher once more being the MVP of this map as he finds the third final blow on this point. The Tracer Quika will be back now and drops that pulse bomb. Will take line to the back of the head. That's all for Cypher. The Deadeye will come through from Shurog as well and take out Shire. And that is, we're going to third point.
This was the change they needed. The dive didn't look as good, and maybe there was just something weak. Maybe they weren't expecting it. Maybe that first night market wasn't their map. But Cypher's really come to life on this Junkrat, and I think you're feeling it. I don't think you give that up. I think as they're making wholesale changes, they really know what they want to do here. Bald Diva, and then go to Soldier Pharah. Okay, interesting kind of a hybrid comp there. I think that's the right call. You might be expecting a Pharah on the other side, as we can see. Pretty similar comps. I'm a big fan of Ryan Ball, but I know that that's not exactly common. So we'll see who gets there first and which ball gets that positioning.
Yeah, I would have liked to see the teleport come back out from Dallas Fellas here. It worked so well for them on that first map here, but it's not to be, and they're running the dive, which presumably is to deal with that pesky Pharah in the sky, as Crackers does initiate with a slight roll through, and then very tentatively gets back out at the moment, just poking and prodding, as Tygo goes to work here as well, finds that concussive blast, but nothing off the edge just as of yet. As Pix now, Quika will open that up, but Crackers will clap back, taking out Quika there. That's a mouthful and a half. Shurog now finding Lion as well. The establishing dominance in the Pharah 1v1 as Kasora will take out the Moira now. Tygo once again going to work, trying to find these picks and even out the playing field. Shurog has got a hell of a task ahead of him as Quika will take him out now. It seems as though Pimp Chimpers don't have the numbers, but they won't have first point unlocked, as now Dallas Fellas can push on to this point and just roll over the two tanks who are remaining for Pimp Chimpers.
Shurog had the initial space made when you took out Quacker there. on the side of Dels Fells, but the things just kind of seem to fall apart. Maybe it's the Rhine difference. You do have a little more support versus that Pharah on Pimp Chimpers, but you still have a much bigger, scarier ground game in that Reinhardt, and a lot more support for Quecker to play behind. And maybe that's the difference here that will keep this going, is Quecker's coming into that tactical visor. In addition to Mines and the Coalescence, we'll have to see which is going to be the bigger play here.
Ooh, Concussive Blast so nearly takes Cypher off the edge, and George does go down, and we're not entirely sure why. The Tactical Visor out will take Shurog down, and that is more than enough for Farrakh, with the Ana going off the edge, pardon me, for Pimp Chimpers. It's going to send them packing and back to spawn once again.
I have a sneaky suspicion that Tygo might have been booped off by Quackers or Shirog there. I'm sorry, might have been booped off there by the Hammond or the thing. But both bars both online. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, Mines dropped early for Sjord there, and the Coalescence will come out as well and picks a place out of Dallas Fellas as Tiger drops that barrage once more, finds two, and the flip comes over so very quickly there. Quite devastating, in fact, for Dallas Fellas when they looked like they might have been losing that.
Yeah, but it cost them 3 to 4 ults. You used them effectively, and you won the fight with it. You're net even at this point. You only have it, but there is a Diva Bomb, the self-destruct coming in there on the side of Pimp Chimpers, and that could be the difference. In addition to the Nano Boost, this could be the difference maker for this fight.
So, yeah, Diva Bomb now over the top. Doesn't net them anything. That Reinhardt shield coming in handy for Quackers. Takes matters into his own hands. Takes out that pesky Pharah in disguise. She's got good pull here as well. 5v5 now available. Quackers will get that Nano as the Visor's unleashed. Weaker there. Will not find anything just as yet. Takes out Shurog's soldier counterpart there, and that might be enough just now to stave off the attack as Quackers goes very, very low. The Diva now in the face of Quaker as he is going hell for leather on that Diva mech. Will find the D-mech as well, and Gasora will take that wrecking ball to the face and not look so good. The high note Cypher won't come out as Tygo punches him swiftly into a wall and ends him. Nobody touches, and it seems as though that should have been closer, but Dallas take that final point and win that map.
The Reinhardt was the difference there, let's be honest. The pretty similar comps for the most part, but the Reinhardt provided a lot of shielding and gave a lot of mobile space for that soldier to really just have free reign on the Pharma and just kind of give them that fight there. Both FARs looked great, both teams looked incredibly well, but Dels Fells did just manage to kind of get themselves grounded in positions and kind of go. I don't know if Pimp Chimpers' plans coming into this just maybe went dismayed. It seemed like they knew what they wanted to do, but just something didn't quite click there. And Pimp Chimpers have the chance to kind of come back and do this. And I think with their map pick coming into this next map, this is their time to turn it around.
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, the weird thing about that composition, right, is that Reinhardt shouldn't have worked.
Yeah, it should not have worked.
But it did, and that's so bizarre. So maybe that was a slightly lackluster Diva play from Pimp Chimpers, which I don't want to throw any accusations out, only one map in. But I mean, they were running the more optimal comp, but then I think also Quika had a really good map on the Soldier. So if Control Center was Cypher's map on the Junkrat, then Quika on the Soldier, that was his map. He really did quite well.
It goes back to the Reinhardt though, because when you have that space that's just being able to have a shield and give your soldier that free reign, you're not afraid of any rockets being able to be rained down on you. You're not worried about necessarily focusing, getting the extra people, putting extra bodies on that Pharah. You're just worried about keeping yourself face. And having Earthshatter isn't that bad of a bonus, because anybody who's not in the air at that point is then just incredibly vulnerable with no shields available to you. That's just free shatters.
Yeah, certainly. It means that you can just walk forward onto them. I mean, the thing about running a Pharah is you are kind of slow tempo, hoping that your Pharah finds that pick and opens something up. And before that, you're kind of stood still, which I suppose the Reinhardt is good for. And that's why I would say the Echo is perhaps preferred in those compositions with the Wrecking Ball and the Diva, because you can go quickly. The focus beam is really going to burst something down. The sticky bombs are really going to upset people.
Yeah, and the Echo with her balance, the ability to copy, sometimes the extra Pharah is usually a good spot. That ability to have kind of an extra in and out for your team, be you need another Valkyrie or maybe you need some more space control with mines, it gives you that kind of a control and that option versus the Pharah, which is a little inflexible. Yeah, you get some big damage out, but how many times do we really hear justice reigns from above? I mean, a lot of the times it's just you get justice, maybe you get a pick or two, and then it's gone.
Justice, that's usually how that goes, right?
It's usually the extent of that. But
Indeed,
I think I think if it's a comfort pick, you know, the FAR is there. So I think it sounds like we're ready, Sim.
Indeed, we are. We are heading to a hybrid map next, and it will be loser's pick. So Pimp Chimpers will have the map to decide, and I believe we are headed to Numbani as. Which is certainly an interesting pick because King's Row is such a favorite, and like you said, this is EU, so Brawl is king. Numbani really favors the Winston here, right?
Yeah, I think this is Pimp Chimpers with the Winston logo there. I think you're looking for that dive. They wanted to run it initially. It didn't quite pan out for them, but this is definitely, especially point A, you have a lot of high ground to cover, a lot of low ground to go. Streets phase has a lot of high grounds you have to maintain, and that Winston may be the difference. We haven't seen anything come out on the side of Dells Fells, so if they don't have too many answers for that, we saw the Ball Diva. If they don't have a Winston of their own, maybe that's their downfall here. And it looks like Pimp Chimpers will opt into that with the FAR and the Soldier. I want to see Cypher back on this Junkrat. I'm going to be 100% honest. I think that he had such an incredible performance there. It may not be great. We may not have, you know, seen historically a Junkrat dive, but you could pioneer this right now and win this and take that. You're playing that well if you're Cypher. I think you need to go back to it, Sim.
Yeah, certainly when you're on defense as well, right? If you're on attack, then maybe the Junkrat doesn't work as well, but when you already have access to these high ground, perhaps they're expecting the FAR to come out again from Dallas Fellas, and that might be why they're playing this Soldier as a hit scan, but I'm not sure. Pimp Chimpers didn't actually make this dive work last time, the Soldier Farah dive.
It didn't quite work out for them, and Dells Fells is going to enter Soldier. I think they're expecting the same thing, also expecting a Farah, as we see Queeker on Soldier, and Tycho on the Hanzo. Hanzo, very strong pick also. Lots of shield break, lots of just pick potential. Interesting pick with the Brawl, but I guess you just care more about the damage output there, Sim.
Yeah, and if all else fails, you have Grab Dragon after 2 minutes.
Oh,
right?
absolutely,
so that is probably what they're playing for, is Dallas Fellas will push through mid. They don't want to take this high ground. Presumably due to the Farah rockets coming down with Cypher, opening this wide straight away by taking out Tiger there. Cypher with the second kill will end this just as quickly as it started here. The defense holding strong as Cypher's completely uncontested on this high ground. My word!
Okay, I take it back. Cypher, I'm sorry. Please don't hurt them too bad. You can stay on Soldier. Yeah, 64% to a tactical visor already, as opposed to 38 on the other side. Just double the work right there. And
something done right?
Yeah, this is paying off for Pimp Chimpers. This defensive dive is really working for them this time.
Yeah, it seems so. So perhaps not on Li Jiang, but it is their pick, and they're very comfortable here. Shurog will slow this down by just taking out Schmickel straight away. Not how you wanted that to go at all. The swap from Tygo comes through, and he's on McCree now instead of that Hunter.
I guess you really want to put a little more pressure onto Shirog there. I don't know, but Dells Fells is moving back to this Reinhardt ball. Maybe trying to make that magic from the last map happen again.
Yeah. I guess they're trying to turn up the heat, right? If Shurog has too much time and too much freedom, he's gonna just have his day in the sun as Coffee will fall already here, just to the sheer tempo with Cypher and Shurog saying hell no and push this back in. Now Shurog is like a cat on the pigeon, finds Queeker, who is just resurrected up. The Cypher will end them by, will take TRQ out here. The respawns will come in. The defense holding strong here as 2 minutes already down.
You're focusing this energy into Shirog, and I think, honestly, that might be the mistake. You might need to be focusing out Cypher here on this Soldier. They weren't as impressive that second fight, but they still are putting in the damage and putting in the kills. Swapping Tygo to the Doomfist, kind of a hybrid comp here, that dive brawl comp. Interesting pick. I hope it works out for them. I love me some Doomfist, so I hope it works out for them.
They need to stop playing mystery heroes there. They need some ultimates online. Queeker gets that anti-nade to the face and will go down as soon as he steps his toe on that point. But finally, Tygo has Cypher's number, will finish him off as the primal rage ready to go. Quackity so desires to use it here as he sets his sights on the Mercy and is looking scary here. The resurrect onto Cypher, but Tygo says hell no, back to spawn you go as the Dallas Fellas. And now looking like they are sort of backed off, even though they had picks here. The Nano will go on to Gasora as well, but that's enough for Dallas Fellas to just get out.
I think Dallas Fells did lose. I think they were just not feeling it. Maybe they feel like they lost control of it, and there it is. But as Primal comes in, this is not a good looking spot for them.
No, Gasora falling, and now Tiger going to work on this Doomfist. Cypher will get the better of Kuika once more, been very quiet this round, but he unleashes the tactical visor here, trying to hold on to this point, but nobody is in his vision at all, and Cypher now in dire trouble as Tygo has him set. Now the visor available, Kuika here sets it straight on this bar and will send them packing now, and has the Mercy in his sights once more, and Ariel will be sent back to spawn with 30 seconds on the clock. They finally opened it up.
They managed to break it open, and the point sound contested is we're going to get a nice little dance there from Weekend Celebration. You know, you earned it. You cracked the defense open. Well played. It took a little while, and the point was sat there for almost a good couple seconds, just not progressing after they'd won, but that's fine. The map will go on. You have a couple ults in your pocket, and Pimp Chimpers needs to set up their defense. That double bubble of theirs has been very, very strong, Sim. And going into the streets phase, it's only going to look stronger going forward. But that Doomfist pick really came through for Tygo. I think that was the right choice, what they needed there.
Yeah, they just needed to deal with Cypher on that high ground, but now Cypher is on this McCree, which means that Tygo on this Doomfist has to be so much more careful as Sjord will get slept. Back to shield, gets out. Shadow comes through and finds absolutely nothing to fly, and will find himself stuck in a grab. Shoerod finds that barrage. 50% of the team now are already gone from Dallas Fellas, and looking pretty good for Chimpers. Will slow this card down as Tygo's still in that backline. Finds Cypher, but to no avail here as Ariel will res George, and Tygo's still going to work.
He's still going. I think that's to get out. That's going to be to get out.
Surely you use that ultimate just for a 17, which is what it's used for a lot. Wait, he goes back in. Will finish him off. Wait, the mines come in from Sjord as well. This is far from over in the minds of Dallas Fellas, although I think it certainly might be, as Sjord is forced back after using his mines, and the meteor strike coming through. Not the best here, but the payload is moving.
I guess you made the little bit of space and you pushed him back. I guess if you're Dallas Fells, that's what you wanted out of it. You committed 2 ults that you might want back later, but you managed to take a little more space. Your arsenal, though, and that's an early pick on that Reinhardt.
Yeah, Quacker's going straight in, and Bayern just didn't seem to have the support that he needed to sustain there, as the Primal Rage from Quackers will find Schmickel here, and has his sights set on Diana. Will not get the kill, but damage has been done, and Dallas are going to have to reset here, even though Quackers falls.
I've heard mutterings that we don't give supports enough attention in this channel and in this league, and I disagree. I think we saw some great support play, or the best that we could from the supports as Quackers was going in on that Primal there. So let it be said, we do show supports at least sometimes. But as Quackers, Cypher is gonna go in, has high noon, that could be a big game changer here.
Yeah, buys a straight up from Quaker here over the top. Doesn't even bother with a Mercy, will take out Shoerod, but Quackers has his number with that Nano Primal, Nano Monkey will just slam right on top. The Cypher once again sets his sights, will find a pick himself with 6 seconds on the clock here. Sleep goes slightly wide of Sjord there, and he's allowed out as Quackers takes a quick nap right in front of a Reinhardt here, tentatively close to that pin. But good restraint from Bayern will stop him from doing just that, as he does go very, very low here. 10 seconds on the clock, someone has to touch. It's probably Sjord, right?
It has to be. TRQ does have Nano coming online. Support line from Dallas Fells have been oddly quiet, but that could be the thing that gives them going. If you nano that Reinhardt and let them have that space, they might be able to win it.
Gosh, Shoerod goes so very low as the grab surge from flat from the top of this barrage finds 2, 3. Nice, and now Shoerod is available here to pick up his 4th. Just the Valkyrie Mercy and the rest has the Nano boost online on the point. He drops the minefield, but it's very, very difficult to clap this back. Quackers will fall to Sjord there. A good start, but Shoerod has Schmickel's number and he will finish him off. The flashbang goes slightly wide from Cypher, as now spin to lose, unfortunately, because Sjord is the name of the game. Although Tidal comes back, but it doesn't make it. Pick onto Shoerod too little too late, and Cypher had the Deadeye anyway. Probably not very likely that they were going to turn that around, right?
No, it was not likely, Sim. And I have to say that this is, and we've been quiet about the support lines on both sides here, but I really have to call this out for Princess Ariel, who's been there every single time with the res, also managing to keep out of the kill feed a lot. And when supports live, fights just go on and don't stay in your favor. And that's the one thing that Pimp Chimpers really had in their favor. The support line was never bothered. That Mercy from Princess Ariel, she was just never really contested in any way. She got off all the reses. She got whatever she wanted. She was just able to make do with whatever she wanted. And Dallas Fells really need to do something about that. They really need to find a way to contest that good support coming in. Otherwise, Pimp Chimpers are just going to take this point and roll on it.
And the way that George is cycling their ult really well with Quackers as well. So the Primal comes out, then the Nano Monkey comes in, and that means that you get a bunch of healing resources back, which means you build the Nano back, so you Nano the Monkey, which gives you the Primal. That is how you play this Ana dive tremendously well, and it seems like George and Quackers really have good synergy when it comes to this defensive dive. Now, we're going to have to see how they manage on offense, right?
Yeah, and that's why Pimp Chimpers is in that #1 seed, right? This is why. It's the little things like that made them there. I don't think we're seeing the Torbjorn here from Delsfels. I'd be genuinely interested if we did on the attack, but I don't. Tygo, maybe hearing you there, go into the Echo to the little fight. They're gonna go into this little brawler. They're gonna stay a little more brawly. They had some success with it earlier. Maybe they're trying it. Maybe they're gonna try it again here. Oh, we do get the Torbjorn. I'm sorry, that was defensive. Okay, the defensive I do like here.
I suppose, yeah, it stops Quackers doing whatever he wants, which makes a lot of sense here. Certainly with the aid of an Echo, just beating down a Winston. Cypher will very quickly deal with that turret, however. I mean, that's part and parcel of having a Hanzo on your team, as they do pretty easily take control of this high ground Chimpers. Now, Delsfellas need to regain some control. Quackers will fall pretty early, and that is going to give them all the control they need. Shurog, on the other hand, is saying it's not done until it's done. Takes out Schmickel. TRQ also will fall here, and the Torbjorn Quicker very, very low as well. Shurog just going ham on this barrage. 62% to the barrage as well. Tygo wants a day in the sun, however, as well as Bayern will find Gasora is out of this fight as well. Now, the defense will be favored with these respawns, but not by all that much. Shurog is right up in Sword's face, however, as Bayern will fall. Croc is back as well. Now, at least a tick on the clock, surely, for Pimp Chimpers. The Echo is back in the sky. Tygo is rightfully low, however, forced on to point with his Mercy counterpart. Fall down.
Shurog's still going.
Shurog is having an absolute belter of an offense here as he storms forward with his barrage ready to go. 5 minutes to not even finish point B, so
yeah, Shurog literally just kind of took control of the skies. It didn't seem to matter. You had such great cooperation there. Cypher was on that Hanzo now in the McCree, but really bought that space and freed up the skies for Shurog to just have free reign. And apparently, Shurog is one to keep an eye out for. Wasn't mentioned in the previous MVP things to watch, but I think you're now watching her if you're anybody in the chat or anybody in the future. They're sticking on this Torbjorn and this Echo. I'm hesitant, Sim. I'm hesitant. I don't know if it's going to be paying off in the long run.
It certainly can, but this is a tall order now to hold point B for 4 minutes 30. With the payload rolling, they're not even trying to take an early fight here to slow this down, Delsfellas. With this barrage already trying to, Shurog is trying to get it going. I mean, the deep bomb does come out in the adaptive circuit for multi-core as well. Delsfellas are putting everything into this fight, trying to win it, bring back payload to shot. The barrage available for Tygo here. Duplicated Echo goes for the Farah, doesn't quite find it, but picks in favor of Delsfellas. They just stabilized, but that is a lot of ultimates gone already.
Yeah, you held them off, but for how long? You only have Nano Boost on the side of Delsfellas. Meanwhile, Pimp Chimpers didn't commit anything into it. They know that if they just build up and have the better ult economy, they can win this in one fight and roll it in. And that's, I think, what they're going to try to do here. They're 5 online with Garosa bomb soon. Here it comes.
Oh, Barrage comes down. Only finds one for Bayern. Shatters Gasora out of that neck and into the spawn here. Hawkins goes for the Primal Rage, however, after receiving that Nano, and will find TRQ, but the picks just aren't there for him. And he's a man on a mission, but he's completely outnumbered in his full double jump out of there. That was a really important fight for Delsfellas to win.
Oh, 100%. The Pimp Chimpers committed almost everything they had into it. They managed to gain that high noon, but they committed so many ults into that, and to only hold that with what was equivalently an Earth Shatter. Quicker is going to go to that Sombra, though, and I think that's a slightly better choice than this Torbjorn. Maybe you can hack the far out of the sky. I think that's a good pick here, Sam.
That being said, they recalled for no apparent reason their Queekers, so not available for this fight. If Chimpers decide to go very quickly, this Deadeye presumably coming out for Cypher here. They haven't seen him though. He still reaches it. He drops it on Bayern and does find a pick here. Cypher looking a little lost here as the Mercy goes to the rest will find it. But Payload with their lives. Cypher now going to town. This payload is so very close to the goal of victory. Tygo forced to duplicate this Diva here to get something done, but doesn't find a self-destruct. Will be taken back into Echo now. A man just there, nobody's available to touch. One lone Echo on the point as Shurog's pushing up. There's no one to touch, and they will find that win. Unbelievable as Chimpers win that with a lot of time in the bank.
That was a very dominant looking win from Chimpers too. That it was very clean. You held them partway through B. A lot of times you don't see that. A lot of teams will just roll straight through B, and to really hold them in the what is equivalently the middle of B is a big statement there. Lots of interesting choices coming out of Del's Fells. I'm curious to see what else they bring, because if nothing else, they now have this air of unsurety about them going forward into this map 3. You have no idea what they might open up. That is it a Torbjorn? Is it a Sim? Maybe it's a Hanzo or an Echo. They're leaving themselves open to at least have that going for them. But they need to do a little more in controlling the DPS of Pimp Chimpers to really take this fight back and win this game, Sim.
I agree. I think that the swap onto Sombra I actually didn't like. I quite enjoyed the Torbjorn on the defense. I thought it was working very well. There was just some ult economy issues that Delos Fellas came out with, where Pimp Chimpers just looked cleaner while they was cycling their ultimates. And that eventually paid off in that push. I mean, like you said, it's not very often that we see a hold on point B Numbani. It's usually that if first point gets rolled, then you go straight to point C. You don't even, you take a point on point B and it's almost a formality, right? Yeah. So that put Delos Fellas in a really rough defensive spot there, and Pimp Chimpers were just feeling themselves, and they just carried on doing what they were doing, cycling their ults nicely until they found picks. Bayern looked good on the Reinhardt, despite not looking like the Rein should have fit in that comp.
No, the Reinhardt and those in the Ball Rein comps are very fascinating, because you're playing what's kind of like a hybrid there. Your Rein is basically your off tank, which is something any Rein player is not used to. Your job at that point is to sit back, provide that kind of support for your Ball when they go out, come back in, support whoever's might be sitting there, your McCree, your Hanzo, and just kind of make the space that the Ball really takes for themselves. And it's a fascinating thing that can work when provided and played well, but not against this dive, this double bubble, the Winston Zarya there, where they just make their space, take it, and then just have all the support, because by the time they've taken the space, you're too busy looking at the monkey, not the Pharah that's been, quite honestly, booming overhead on you.
Yeah, it certainly seems that. We are just headed to a quick intermission here, ladies and gentlemen. We are potentially at the halfway point. I mean, it is first to 4 going into this, so certainly plenty of maps to play. It is 1-1. Pimp Chimpers and Delos Fellas both have a map apiece. Don't go anywhere, and we will see you shortly after this break. Welcome back to another banger of a series here on CGL. We're looking at the Tier 3 EU Finals, and my word, what a rip-roarer we've had so far. I mean, one map apiece for Pimp Chimpers and Delos Fellas here, both looking pretty good, but Pimp Chimpers maybe just looking a little cleaner when it comes to the team play, the ult management, right, Soa?
Absolutely. I think Pimp Chimpers definitely came into this series with ideas in mind, comps to play, and they definitely know how to play them and manage them. And when you're coming ahead in such kind of ferocious ways, when you see Cypher on that Junkrat, as we kind of noted earlier in map 1 on Li Zhang, or even Shirog on that Pharah, when you have that kind of thing that are working, why change it? Both things are basically pretty good. And as we're going into Hanamura Sim, I'm excited to see what brings, because this is a tough one for some of those kind of Winston Zarya comps.
It can be, but again, with the way that Pimp Chimpers are cycling their ult so well, that might not even be an issue when you're pushing into Hanamura. You just save those 6 ultimates up, get that Nano Winston into that Graviton Surge, or you pop a rally, and you're good to go. We are ready to get started on this map, so let's go ahead and not waste anyone's time. Let's jump straight in. This could be another moment where we see Cypher's Junkrat, right? This isn't going to be the worst map for it.
No, but the counterpoint is, what are Delos Fellas going to come out with? We've seen them pull so many different things out of their bag of tricks. We've seen everything from Torbjorn, Sim, Hanzo, Pharah. We've seen everything. I think you might have to be a little concerned about what you might see here. In some brackets, we see Sims and Junkrats. In some brackets, we see Pharahs, defensive Pharahs come out. So really, Pimp Chimpers just has to play what they know and what has worked for them, and put their smart play that they've been running into it. And it looks like they're gonna do that. Shirog over on the Junkrat here, not too the distant ground cousin of Pharah, as we all know. But I think those things, George over on the Baptiste also could be a difference maker. Immortality feels very, very big. On the other side, and for Delos Fellas, the Sombra, which we didn't see too much of, in the Echo from Tygo, I don't like either. I don't hate either of those. Both of those are not bad.
They certainly both have 2 CP winning ultimates, right? You
Yeah.
get a big EMP, and you don't have to worry about attacking it. You just get rid of everybody's abilities, and you're good to go, right?
Yeah, EMP by itself can carry those fights on their own, but you know, and honestly, putting Cypher onto the Ashe with Shirog on that Junkrat, I'm a little interested. I'm curious to see how this goes. But you have a pretty good defensive. You have a lot of defensive holds here on both these angles.
Oh, and Tygo coming out and just being sent straight back to spawn. The Resurrect was attempted, but not quite pulled off there by Schwickel. Not the greatest start here, with a lot of damage gone, but still running up for Dallas Fellas. The Sombra will be in the backline here, causing Cypher a little bit of problems as they're forced straight back out is Quicker, and back Dallas go, right?
Yeah, the swap off the Echo to the Widow here. You're a little more concerned about dealing with that Ashe now, who's just controlling those kind of higher angles, which is applying that pressure down. I don't know. You have a bit of burst damage, but you don't have a lot of hold damage on this ground, Sim. We'll see how this goes in the long game, I guess.
Yeah, and George getting hacked out, Quackers getting slept there. The Immortality Field acting as a second life for Quackers. He will stay up and stay healthy for now, but Tygo is on that Widow, and you better watch out when they are. Shadow comes out in desperation. Quackers will get blocked by Bayern. Now he's in trouble and will fall themselves, as Bayern is free now to pin onto the point with no holds barred. This is looking like a pretty quick take here for Dallas.
That was very good patient play by Dallas Fells. They waited until they got a pick or two. They found the opening and the weakness in Chimpers' lineup, which because they haven't been very strong on this kind of a ball comp, and they were able to punish, push in, take those moments, and Tygo on that Widow did enough work there to keep it going, and they're going into this next fight with EMP almost ready to go, including 3 others, so the ult economy coming to their favor. Garosa does have Graviton Surge, so that can negate that out, and with the window coming out for George, there's a lot of counterplay to be coming into this. If Quaker can get this EMP off, this could be negate a lot.
Well, I mean, Shuro taking out Schmickel and Creeper immediately is going to send the attacking team packing here. They're just trying to pin out there as Bayern. He misplaces it ever so slightly, and George will take him out. I have 3 picks, and that just won't do it for 2 CP. You ain't winning that fight, you ain't winning the point.
No, and it's amazing what analysis I can bring to immediately be ended by Shirog just simply popping off and simply just ending that. And you know, Pimp Chimpers didn't spend anything to win that. Nothing really got spent, and that's good for you. You bought a lot of time off the clock from a kind of a tough loss on A, so you're going into this a little bit better. That's a big pick me up, and 4 ults on the side of Pimp Chimpers, 4 ults on the side of Dels Fells, but the Valkyrie could be the difference maker for Dels Fells in addition to that EMP.
It depends how early this EMP comes out now, and Quicker looks itching to go here. He just wants to find this Mercy as well, presumably, as he waits on bated breath. Shurok will get taken out. That has to be the go button. They've got to let it go now with the EMP and the grab slap on the top. Falls like dominoes. Sword will finish 2, and Quicker takes another 2 themselves. A tick already in favor of Dallas Fellas, and they do have this infra sites online to just keep everyone at spawn. Valkyrie comes down, but nobody touches. Unbelievable execution coming out from Dallas Fellas there.
That was well played there by them. You knew the Widow wasn't going to need to do. You're never going to expect a Widow to pop off in the middle of a Graviton Surge. So why not actually put the Widow on the point and give yourself that advantage while everybody's just hanging there waiting for, to go back to spawn. You've already capped that point, and that gave them such an advantage. That's very, very smart play out of Dels Fells to really. It cost them a lot, and it paid off. That's a big risk, big reward, though, because if had something gone wrong there, they could have been looking at a much bigger clock on there, like such much smaller clock.
Yeah, but that's the thing. When you've got that EMP, you just have to make sure that you are using it before any ultimates come out from the opposing team. That's all you have to do. And that grab came out in perfect synchronization with Creeper's EMP. That was expertly done.
And then top in they had the Earth Shatter there too, just because you might as well throw it in. You're not going to do anything. Quicker. Attackers incoming. There looks like they're unsure. I liked the Maykree. Maykree is very big right now. Quicker going to go to Sombra though. And I don't know. Sure, I guess. Is this your answer to the Pharah here, maybe? Maybe you're not sure what Cypher's going to bring out, so you're looking to it. I mean, and it works, so why change it? On the other side, they're going to run that double bubble, and it's worked for them, so why not run the Chimpers? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, as they say.
For sure. I mean, the double bubble Quackers has been insane. George has been really good at syncing up with his main tank, so it's been really well played from Chimpers. And we were saying that they looked cleaner, but Dallas looked like they've cleaned up in that halftime period. They had a moment's reprise. Quackers wasting no time here, however, will go in, which forces the entirety of Dallas Fellas back as an anti-gate roll. Take Bayern very low, and the finish comes straight in from Gasora, opening this wide up. No shield available for Dallas Fellas. Now the hack onto the Animite, slow this down from Quika. Shurog will pick up Schmickel, and Dallas Fellas are thinning out very rapidly here. Shurog, another pick in the bank, as Quackers now available to just press forward, and Gasora finds himself a pick as well. Hack on Shurog doesn't do a whole load, as the translocator will be procced. Quika going out, and not much to speak of from the Dallas Fellas there.
No, it was quick, it was effective. I don't know if Dallas Fellas just kind of gave them too much space there, because they were just able to walk through the choke without any contest. And when you have that much space, especially if you have a monkey who can just close the gap on you, yeah, you might have wanted to, you might want to redo there.
Taking off.
Absolutely. Tygo, quite low, but back on this Echo now. No hit scan. Barra at the moment, and Shurog obviously very close to this. Barra will get focus team, however. That is a way to deal with it. I suppose put the hack on him and do that. That will do the job. So the falls here. Tygo now going ham in this choke. But Gasora, very high charge. They can get out with it. That will be a bonus here for Pimp Chimpers. They do not and will not have that happen. But the rest of the team will manage to escape just about.
That was that was an eco push, right? You came into that with not really any ultimates of your Pimp Chimpers. You don't really have much going on. Maybe you get a pick and the fight turns a little bit, but I don't think you're expecting it. But that early pick onto Shurog is going to be big detrimental, as you don't have that res available going to this fight unless you just wait and throw more time at it.
You don't really want to do that, but I suppose they've got 5 minutes in the bank. They can opt to go slow if they choose to. It's certainly not favourable, however, just posturing up on this point. And that's the problem with the top right-hand side, is with this Winston, the Reinhardt is going to give you a world of hurt trying to get in here. As you can see, Tygo posturing up on the left-hand side. The EMP is let out. Mika will be forced to translocate straight away, thanks to Cypher's very quick reaction times. Shoots an arrow to Quika's knee there, and EMP nets them absolutely nothing there.
It was a right call, but there was no follow-up for it, and they were so far back that the Rhine couldn't even have charged into it. That's unfortunate for Quaker. I think there was a big play, maybe a miscommunication on their end, but you still have some hope here. You can still hold this out.
Yeah, I mean, a minute's been gone and they just stood in the choke of Pimp Chimp. They're not able to get past this at the moment. Sjord has this grab online as well, so as soon as they want to make a move here, Dallas Fellas can shut it down with this Graviton Surge. But it seems like Pimp Chimp is a pressing triangle first, and the Grab Dragon comes out. They will find Sjord, and now Quarker's available as well with this right rage. Going to town on Bayern and finishes him off. Quaker onto the Winston will fly sometime very quickly taken out of it. Now George has Tygo's number and will finish them off as well. Very similar time backs coming in with the Nano Zarya and the Graviton Surge on the side of Dallas will slow this down somewhat here. Doesn't net a kill, and that is problematic. That being said, Cypher finding Quaker is gonna keep this push alive for Pimp Chimpers. Sword now taking matters into his own hands, goes into the back button, will get slept up, and his half HP as Tygo back on this Doomfist finds George. Cypher clapping back, trying to Sword there, and the barrage comes out, trying to get Shurog doesn't find anything, for so many members are low. It allows Quarkers to finish up and mop up those kills. One final pick is needed from Pimp Chimpers here, and no one touches. 3 minutes, 10 seconds in the bank will net them 2 minutes when all is said and done.
Tygo had the right decision there, and it flashed quickly. You could see it as George got the bubble. George was keeping them up from that back line, just no contest, no problem. Just able to free fire in and keep their tanks up. And the second you saw George fall, the fight started to swing. The second George came back and the Princess Ariel was there with that res, the fight swung back the other way. If you are Dallas Fells, you need to focus out these supports. They are keeping their team up, and they are enabling Quackers to just go ham. They're enabling Shurog to just continue to rain down. That's been the missing piece this whole time, and Dallas Fells need to get on that.
Indeed, but they did finish with a better time bank. I suppose that is something that you're happy about if you're Dallas Fellas. But like you said, it's got to be a shout out to George and Ariel on the side of things. It's the quiet carries of Pimp Chimpers right now.
100%. They've been putting up so much work, and we haven't even had to say anything about them. The sim coming out here, I don't know if it's a trick. We might see one of them cheeky sim teleport strats that would become so famous.
I like it.
and these these ranks that are my end. So in the gold to plat end. So we'll see. I like it though.
I like it.
Sjord onto the Sigma. Interesting.
It's a lot more stability when it comes to the defense, but when they realize that Pimp Chimpers are aiming to teleport to point, you probably wish that you had that Zarya online.
Yeah, you probably want that Zarya, even a D.Va, just for that mobility. Let's see how this initial teleport goes. I'm very curious to see how they respond, considering Dallas Fells gave up that space so willingly before.
Yeah, they do just that, but they back to point. They're privy to the danger, and they've not given up points just yet. They've not actually teleported straight onto point. Pimp Chimpers, but Carcass will take out Bayern with a pin. That is really not good, and Shurog just finds 2-3 immediately here. It's so quick. Blink and you'll miss it. Pimp Chimpers take A.
And that's it. That's what you want, right? That's that aggression that Pimp Chimpers will come on. There's gonna be a couple staggers you're gonna try and pull all the time here. But on the whole, like, you've got it. You're not too worried. That's the aggression that Pimp Chimpers have come in. That's getting them these wins. And Princess Ariel showing that she's no slouch. Gonna get a pick on the Lucio too, just to close it out.
Indeed, you have to do this as well. You have to play no holds barred. You really have to deliver it. And they are teleporting left side. They put the turrets on the point, and they're going straight for it right here, right now, as this fight breaks out on the point. It is so very dangerous, however, for Pimp Chimpers, as they are purpled up at the moment. The Shurog does take out Bayern. Sjord will clap back. No, Reinhardt for either side, but the tire available.
Oh no!
He's going straight for it. He finds 3. He's opened this back up and a tick already to the side of Pimp Chimpers now. This will be staggers onto quick to try and do the best that Dallas fellas can to hold on to it, but they all died so quickly. Bayern will be back on this Reinhardt. He will be able to hard shield up to get some jump. Sora will finish him off immediately. Tracer now back as well. Quika will get finished off here. Sora now having the time of the sun as they're fully charged or fully healthy, and now the Graviton online for them as well. Nobody touches. 44 seconds in the bank after the 2-minute push. Really well played from Pimp Chimpers.
Yeah, and I think that was a little bit of a miscalculation on the side of Dallas Fells. You knew there was a sim. You knew there was that chance that they come co-side on that outside of that and push from that side. And everybody there was looking at that top ground for some reason. And I don't know if it was just, maybe you think that's just a one trick. You know, maybe you're thinking it's just a 1-point trick, but you have to at least assume that that may be an option. And they just were caught off guard. They had to drop to point. And by that point, Pimp Chimpers were already upset. And that level of aggression and quick movement is what's getting them these wins, Sim.
Yeah, Dallas fellas really needed to. I mean, you still hold top left, right? Even if they have a Symmetra, because you don't want to hold low ground and then give it away for free. But like you said, even if there's a slight threat that they might teleport to the right-hand side of that point, you need to know that is an option. And as soon as you see that team pop their heads out on that right side, you drop and you hold that choke instead. And Dallas fellas just a little too slow there, but looks like they're mimicking this Symmetra TP.
Yeah, this is, like I said, this is a popular strat down by where I exist, and I'm not too surprised. I don't know if they're going to be able to replicate the results. The Reaper maybe is a good pick. I like it in the Brawl comp. We'll see how it pans out. But Shurog on the Torbjorn. We're seeing a lot of Torbjorn. This is a good day for me. Maybe expecting that. Maybe expecting this kind of the same playback.
Yeah, it means that you can set up a turret on sort of an off angle to at least punish pushing point, but in that case you would just want to run a May if you ask me. Oh my word, Tygo goes immediately down here and the aggression is nothing but turned up to 11 at the moment, as it seems like Pimp Chimpers are not done just yet. They want to get as much ult charge out of that as they can. Well played from them.
They knew, and sometimes this happens, is you know if teams might run it back like that. Yeah, and Cricker's just gonna go down. That was an unfortunate teleport. You know if they're gonna try that same thing, you have to be that aggressive and not give them a chance to set up. And that was what they did there. And Quackers already has Shatter online, whereas the counterpart in Sjord only has 50. That already sets him up for this for this next fight.
Certainly does, and that's like a minute 30 remaining on the clock as the Shatter is left loose. He jumps straight down the Reinhardt, shooting no old bard, and finds a big fat 4K. That double plate pushing off two as well really solidifies that MTD.
Yeah, Quackers has not been a slouch this whole game, and it would be doing oh boy, I can't. I'm sorry, I need to finish that thought, but there's an attack bastion. I think we're we're reaching for some options here. It may pay. You know, it's not impossible, but I'm curious to see what Tygo's doing. It's costing them some ults though, Sim, and there's two on the other side. And
oh, such a big grab coming through as well, and the multi-core on top will finish off either
no.
Now the health pool of Dallas Fellas is so very depleted as the rest of Pimp Chimpers are just forcing them back into their own spawns. Cypher picks up Sword here, who's been pushed onto the Reinhardt and Viant on the Zarya. We didn't actually talk about that, Soa, but it seems like all strategy has been thrown out the window by Dallas, right?
Yeah, Dallas has just been trying to search. They're digging for answers, and that's costing them in the ult economy even more. They're going into this with just the Reinhardt ult, and they've settled on Junkrat Doom, and it might just be too late for this, Sim. I mean, there's just too much already going against you, and to make this work will require nothing short of a miracle.
Oh, the miracle might have come in shatter, but the uppercut sent Shurok up onto the high ground behind him. Time to finish off Tiger. He gets an 8 on that kill feed here. Shurok going to town and finding those picks after the uppercut doesn't quite finish him off. Have you ever seen something as unfortunate as that? Finish off the map
Sim. Sim, we were 1 point of, we were 5 HP away from seeing an entirely different outplay, and instead Shurok just comes around and saves the day, coming in with his ultimate, and there's the shatter on the Baptiste!
Yeah, shatter on the Baptiste might be the nail in the coffin. He was 3 picks favoring Pimp Chimpers now. The lone Lucio on the point of the Graviton squad. Insult to injury here as Queekers will take a clean headshot from Cypher. Pimp Chimpers take it. I mean, what a map. I mean, oh my word. That is so unfortunate.
That's so unfortunate, and if you're Delsfells, I'm sorry, Tygo. I hope you're not. Please don't boom yourself over that. You can't predict those things. You had everything right for you. There's so little that you can do about leaving that Torbjorn up there with 5 HP. It's so hard to just let that happen and know that we would have been in a different world.
Yeah, and he committed all his cooldowns that would have offered him verticality as well. The uppercut came through.
Yeah, the uppercut was gone. Everything was gone.
You can't punch yourself out of there as easy to get in with a rollout. I mean, all he has is that seismic, and it's not going to do any good when that Torbjorn's up on high ground. And it allows them to swing that fight. Oh my goodness. And then
they get Molten Core through the fight too, just to even clean that up. If things couldn't have looked the worst there. Yeah. They weren't looking in the best of spots. But that's just almost insult to injury, Sim. That's painful.
There's a part of me that I feel like the spirit of Chipser must have embodied Tygo there, and I could just hear what are the chances? What are the chances?
So unlucky. So unlucky. Yeah, and I think that defines it here. And as we go into the next map, we're 2-1 up Pimp Chimpers, the expected favorites, but Delsfells really haven't been slouching. You know, it's been close fights back and forth. It took us a whole other time around on Hanamura there, so I think you still have a lot to be proud of. And it looks like we're going to Rialto, Sim, and I don't know about this.
I'm a little worried. Yeah, I'm a little worried for Dallas Fellas here.
Yeah.
Pull out their double shield, double bubble, pardon me. They can pull that out again, which they've been so very good on. And if Dallas Fellas still haven't figured out an answer to it, I'm worried for them.
Especially, and then you have just the free skies for this far that's just been raining down. I wonder what was going on in that chat when they decided this, because maybe you didn't have a lot of great options, but I don't know if this was the best one.
Yeah, I mean, what are the other options though? I mean, you've got Route 66. Which is not favored in the slightest to your role. I mean, or to the double main tank like Ryan Wrecking Ball that they had. It's just looking rough for Dallas Fellas.
Yeah, maybe there's a set play. Sim, I'm not going to write this off yet. I have faith in my Dallas Fellas. I did take the bet on them in the beginning initially, so I'm sure they've got something planned here. This was something they worked in scrims. This is a favored map for them. I'm sure there's some good reason that's going to keep us going to all 7 maps, because I don't know you, but that's what I want to see is all 7.
Let's go for it as we jump into Rialto here. Pimp Chimpers might take this and be at match point, and that's not what you want to look down, right? Dallas Fellas, as much as we're a little worried about them, they kind of have to win this, because staring down the barrel of a match point is not looking good, right?
No, putting you down 3-1 is even more booming than what we just experienced on Hanamura, right? Knowing that all it takes is one more map, one more time that this Pharah just gets over your head, over your team, and comes over the top is really what will just push you down to the end. And if you're Delsfells, you need to go back and find a way to focus on these supports. If you can keep George and Ariel in control, you are just one step closer to winning these fights and keeping yourself in the game and keeping yourself rolling during these playoffs.
Yeah, and that's the problem with Delasfellis running these Reinhardt comps, is that you can't get onto the backline. If Delasfellis can pull out, like, even if they do go to that Wrecking Ball Rhine, at least then there's some pressure on George on that Ana, so that you could just go in, get the sleep and the anti-nade onto the Wrecking Ball and roll out with your life. If you do that, if you take the strain a little bit, then you take that, right? Because then there's not that play, or you're not able to, as the Ana, heal your Winston, who has just gone on a dive, because the Wrecking Ball on you, you've had 180 to land to sleep.
Even letting Tygo go to town on that Doomfist, who's shown that they are playing well on that Doomfist. If you have a Tracer in your pocket somewhere, dig out those things that you can just kind of get in and out of and take a little bit less of those resources, because that's really what this is at this point, is you need to put a little bit less resources into your main tank winning that fight, because it's not working for you. You need to find and play those flank angles to really come out. You can't do that on a Torbjorn. You can't do that necessarily on that, like you can on the Soldier, but it's not as effective. You're still playing from too much of a range. You need that Tracer. The Echo that was coming out looked really good, would be great for pressuring the Ana out. You were just saying they needed that, and that's been the thing. And I think the other part that we still haven't really addressed is you also still have to find a way to keep that Pharah in check, which still has been paining them since map 1.
Yeah. That's the thing, is that Pimp Chimpers are looking on fire in every role, right? You see, you have to shut down the Winston being free, because the Ana's free to do it. Well, we dive the Ana. Yeah, but then the Winston's in our backline. Yeah, okay, we'll deal with the Winston. Yeah, but what about the Pharah in the sky? It seems like Pimp Chimpers are stacked on every role. Delasfellis are looking really good as well. It's not like they haven't come up with answers. They've taken a map. They know how to do it, and they did it well on Lijiang, where they just shut out Pimp Chimpers completely. The problem is, it seems like when they don't have control of a point, that they don't quite know how to engage, and that is the issue. But we will see if that is a problem as we head into Rialto here. I mean, so I'm worried for Delasfellis.
Yeah.
They need to talk about this strategy and reassess, right?
Yeah, I think you needed a little time to kind of get your composure together. That was awful. That was the worst way you could have lost Hanamura right there. Yeah. And already being down 2-1 is not putting you in a better spot. So you take a big breath, you get your comps out, you know what you run. You go to your like personal favorite picks here, I think at this point, the stuff that you're the most comfortable on, and you find the answers to the problems in front of you, because that's the only way you're going to win this. And if your answer is to just hard focus the Pharah, maybe it's put pressure on the Ana, maybe it's, you know, we haven't seen a Brig come out. That might be a great counter to that Winston from Quackers. And
absolutely.
There's still so many things you haven't tried, but you need to find an answer and stick with it, because that's the other thing that's costing Dustfells here. This constant mystery heroes kind of attitude of search for an answer that works, search for an answer that works, has been costing them in other ways that unfortunately hasn't paid off.
I mean, unfortunately, what's happening here is more mystery heroes here, as Tygo is now on the Reinhardt.
Okay.
It seems like Bayern is on the Moira, so they are switching things up, which could work in their favor, right?
Yeah, I think if he Tygo has not had a bad performance. For as much as we might be critiquing Delsfells, Tygo has had a very good performance, and if that's the kind of performance you need in your team, main tank is a great place to put that out. After all, Reinhardt's just a big chunky DPS with a rectangle, right? But on the other side, we see double off tank. What is this? Overwatch circa early 2020s? Okay.
Yeah, certainly unorthodox. Sure. It can work out for them. Certainly on the defense with this Pharah is going to be so difficult, because you're looking at so many things that can potentially just take you out immediately. But Cork is already a little bit low, forced back as Gasora does exactly the same as well. The tank's not able to sustain in this fight. The only thing they're good at is pick potential as the hook will go on to Q, and Surog able to get into the backlines there and take out the Widow, who is going to threaten his presence the entire time here. Double hit scan is on the side of Delasfellis, but Delasfellis are falling very, very low in the first corner. Is with Pimp Chimpers are going to hold this.
Garosa, there are quite a bit of amount of assists on them. It truly is the team coming together for these wins here. But Pimp Chimpers already onto a nano. Meanwhile, on the other side, Delsfeld still hasn't quite gotten their coalescence together. Yeah, I think you still probably feel good, Delsfeld, because you do have free reign of this Reinhardt, but you gotta play aggressive and you gotta play like a team. And I think if you can do that, you can beat this double off tank, right?
You would think so, because Kisora finishing up the hook kill on Squeaker, and the nano on Kisora now is so high charge, it's just going to chunk through the shield. So much damage. The grab, the back, alley-oop, it goes. They realize no casualties. The barrage come through, but Spickle will take out Shoerog, and now it seems like a little bit of overzealousness will be Chimpers' downfall as they're allowed to push this payload a little further.
Garoso is really feeling himself big. Oh, wow!
Hold on from Blackers to take out Spickle, but the trade comes through, and that's not really what you want there.
No, Garoso was really feeling themselves, and they were feeling really confident in that, but it unfortunately just kind of didn't pay off long. They're going to commit the Valkyrie into this, but there's a lot on the other side of this.
Will find those picks. Squeaker will fall as well. That's 3 for them. The flashbang helps finish on fire on that Moira as George cleans up Tygo as well. They will full hold here in 2 minutes in the bank. Pimp Chimpers empty in the tank at the moment, however.
I don't know what to say to that. You do have 4 ultimates on the board. I guess it's smart that they didn't commit one there because they lost pretty handedly from that high noon. And it was a good quick reset, but Pimp Chimpers used up all the fuel. They're coming into that nano mid fight. They used up all their fuel, and there's 4 ults on the side of Delsfeld, so that may be something that punishes them a little later.
Yeah, Quacker's back on this wrecking ball, which means there's nothing to shield the shatter, but Shoerog opening this up and taking out what should be countering here. But the shatter will come through on the wrecking ball. The nano will keep him healthy just for now, as Tygo's bitten off a bit more than he can chew, and he will go down here. The high noon comes out and finally takes care of Shoerog on this Farah. But the picks, once again, not really favouring the Dallas fellas, who are really having a hard time breaking through here. Cypher will fall on this Zarya, and the coalescence now comes out for Dallas fellas to get some work done. Numbers finally in their favors, but Quackers is still alive, and that means that the stall could be forevermore.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of gas left in that tank. You just have kind of whatever people come with it. And especially with the ball dying with mines, that could have been so big.
Oh, yeah, that's not looking good at all now. Favors for Dallas.
Yeah, they're just going to reset.
That goes through, yep, and the point will be unlocked.
That's the right call there. You have your ultimates. You give that up. You live to fight the next day. Delsfeld almost had a very tragic push there, committing 2 ults into that fight and almost not coming out on top. Take a deep breath, Delsfeld. You still are in this. You can still fight. You can still win. But there's 5, 6 ults coming out on the line on Pimp Chimpers, so you got to watch your economy. Maybe take an eco push. Just get a little bit of space, come back and fight again.
Yeah, even if you trade out Visor for 2, 3 ults, you're okay with that. As the minefield will drop and the grab on top. Pimp Chimpers are not hanging around, but Kraken will fall there and the barrage will come out as well. Ultimates, like you said, plenty available for Pimp Chimpers, and they do use what they have to win that hold.
Yeah, and they gained a couple along the way, and I think you're fine with that if you're Delsfeld. You're not too upset. You made some space. You pulled some of the bigger ults out. You got Barrage. You got Grab. Quacker's going back on this hog, really determined to make this hog work. I love the enthusiasm, but I'm so interested to see. Very high damage comp this is, and we'll see if this pays off. Oh, big hook, no!
Yeah, I mean, if Corcus lands abilities, then this is going to be very difficult for him to deal with here, and when he's on form like this, it's very difficult. Traded flashbang there, but Cypher is the hotter shot out of Spickle and him, and he will take him out now. Once again, favors Pimp Chimpers on this defense. A big boost doesn't quite bounty on you, but he will fall nonetheless to Cypher, a man who has been on form all series at the moment, and Dallas fellas straight back to spawn.
Yeah, I think Shoerog finally decided that they had enough time in the limelight, was going to let Cypher get back in for a little bit. And that's, that's fine. You love to see a team that has every member able to play at a peak and able to pop off and share it. Delsfeld's coming into 4 or 5 ultimates now, with Coalescence and Shatter coming a little bit later. This might be the time to just win by throwing it all at it and keep it going. This might get you to B if you throw everything, I think so.
Yeah, I think that's the play. You have to start investing everything. This is Final Fight. You don't get to save them if you don't keep
You
pushing
don't go
right.
on you.
You don't extend that time bank. You are all for North Africa. Needs to let this go and deal with it, but the Nano immediately comes out with Crackers here. The Coalescence will be lapped on top. Skasora will fall here. Barrage available for Shurog. He thinks about it, decides against it, and dives for the free instead. Now we'll get flashbang, however, and it's in a little bit of trouble. Dream will find a pick. It's back and forth. Nonetheless, Zerial will fall to Krieger there. Short also picking up Shurog, and they will keep pushing this despite a very, very messy fight.
Ariel committed Valkyrie into that, trying to save her Pharah, and to just unfortunately lose that to such a big, bold play and maybe cost them this point. There's still time to recontest. Looks like they will be able to, but that's unfortunate.
Yeah, Crackers goes on, the High Noon, the Barrage is all lapped on top. The Visor also unlocked as well. Speaking goes to town, but so short. The Nano is invested as well, and like you said, they just have to press triangle and they get the push.
And sometimes you're fine with winning by that. We're not here for pretty wins. We are here to dance, but we're not here for pretty wins. We're here to get this payload to wherever it's going, and if that means we have to save up 6 ultimates and just force the economy to go the way we want it to go, that's fine. That said, Quackers is coming into whole hog, and that could just straight push everybody off as we're coming into this last minute. That's maybe something you come into and clear it off on. So we'll have to see if Tygo on this Reinhardt, who's been putting up a pretty good performance themselves, is the difference maker here.
Certainly, and with nothing to block the shatter but the Zarya bubbles, this should be a really good one for Tygo here, but it has to come up big at the moment, as we are into what could be final fight at the moment. Gasora is out of bubbles at the moment. That might be Tygo's go button, but Whole Hog out will push everybody back and deplete the Reinhardt shield completely. Just buys them enough time here, but doesn't get any kills, and that might be disastrous as the flashbang will see Quackers away here. Now Bubbles once again depleted and in trouble as Tygo looks like he desperately wants to drop this shatter. Both teams posturing up for this final fight, and the contest is on payload now. Quackers will go down a little overzealous, has been the story of the game here. Beat and grab left on top. The Nano Barrage will come. Shurog will finish off Smiko in the High Noon. Cypher! He doesn't touch, but he will
That was great patient play by Dosfels. You could see it. They were looking, waiting for a mistake to be made to capitalize on it. And when the second they did, they knew to go. Tygo's restraint for that Earth Shatter, looking, waiting for the right moment to try to get 1 or 2 key people. Never needed it, but just the threat of that Earth Shatter was enough to keep them going and getting those right picks and that patient play. That's the one thing I will give Delsfels is they've been more patient in their picks over Pimp Chimpers, over waiting to know when to go. Pimp Chimpers may just strong arm it in, but Delsfels have really made themselves a good home in capitalizing and punishing those mistakes.
They certainly have, and credit, however, to Cypher once again. We've been singing his praises all series long, pardon me. But he has been unbelievable. He's been winning the McCree 1v1. He's been landing big High Noons, which is so difficult to get off when you are facing down an aggressive Pharah play or an aggressive other McCree. You know, there are so many things that can stop that from getting any value, and he's still managing to do so. Really well played from the DPS from Chimpers at the moment. But like you said, Delisfal has played that so well to restrain themselves until they had beat and grab online.
And I think they're coming into this expecting the Pharah again, maybe a little bit more self-sustained between the Ball and the Sigma who can buy themselves. Boy, are they going to be a bit surprised to maybe not see that coming out. I don't know about the Reaper. The Reaper could stay here. But the Widow is not something we'd seen too much out of Shurog, so that might catch him by surprise here, Seb.
Yeah, Shurog Widow might just come and find one pick, and that might be all you need from that Widow. It does get Faye and very low indeed will be able to go back, and Shurog is staying on this Widow. The Wrecking Ball and the Sigma comp will make this very difficult for them, however, to find much of anything on this Widow, certainly with a big mechanical Wrecking Ball in your face, and exactly that. Shurog forced away, forced to back and play with the team, which is not what you want to do as the Widow, right?
No, not at all. You need that ball in your face. But this is exactly the disruption we were talking about, right? That's what you need, is to go back there and create that havoc to force them to turn around and figure out what to do it. And that good focus is coming out. You've got an initial pick, there's your second one. And once you get that pick and create that distraction, this is what you want from it.
Yeah, both DPS down now for that brawl, which is not going to net them much damage at all, and a broken shield for Quackers will send him back to spawn as well. Delos fellas just need to keep this brawl split up.
And I think we saw this a little bit on Lijiang, was this Lucio Moira. I don't know. I think you keep that on a Mercy you had. You were feeling that. It worked really well for you. I appreciate the rush and the aggression, but I don't know if it's going to pay off.
They have to go all in with this brawl. They have to really speed things on that coalescence. That's exactly what they're doing, but it's being permitting clutch coming out. So Seeker's still very low. The high noon comes out, complemented beautifully to the chef. Has 2 kills for the Deadeye and 2 for the Visor. It costs them a lot.
Yeah, that was a great hold, but that was 5 ult sim. That was everything. You just pushed full down on the gas there, and oh no, that doesn't bode well for the next fight. There's Graviton on the other side and Sound Barrier. Wholesale changes coming in from Pimp Chimpers back to their bread and butter. They're going to go to this Farah McCree. I don't disagree with that. You should have probably made that a change or 2 ago, but this was the best time for Dells Fells to make those changes.
Yeah, not wasting any time at all. The Graviton and the beat comes out, and just everybody piles on and finds all the pickup. Shurod will end his own life, unfortunately, to a
unfortunate.
Worry Ariel is on hand once more.
Yeah, Garosa just decided it's fine. Guys, make your swaps. It's okay. Don't worry about ult economy. I'm just gonna throw the Graviton, and we're just gonna clean it up, and it'll be great. And that's you can't ask for anymore. Garosa's been a very, very solid tank this whole time. Not making incredible bomb plays, but has come in for the clutch when the teams needed it, and it's not hard to say so with even thinking twice about it. Onto the Lucio Mercy here. A little low healing comp out of the Chimpers, but you still have that aggression. You're going to have to play a little bit. Oh, they're making wholesale changes. Looks like they're going to the double bubble. Yeah, they're just going to go to comfort picks now. As comfort picks.
Yeah. Speaking of comfort picks, indeed, and now the barrels will come out. Speaking of comfort picks, Shurod looks right at home on this Farah. Will be taken out by Bayern with the Mercy pistol. But oh wait, they're turning this around. Dallas in still chaos with this Roadhog Dario comp. The payload is still moving, but it's a 3v4, I believe, on the payload.
Wow,
they're
going to give that up. Wow, they're going to give that up. Yeah, I thought you had that. You had two picks from Shirog. That looked nothing if not in the Pimp Chipper's favor, but I guess you didn't have your supports there. You're probably not looking like an optimal spot, which is a bit unfortunate, but that's the life you chose.
Yeah, it certainly is, and we're sticking with this low healing comp, which is not going to net them very much if the fight goes wrong, but if Cypher opens them up nice and quickly like that, that could be it. Shurog is just, oh my god, it's the high noon, it's the back foot, you find the high noon, make that 3 classic flashbang fan the hammer combo. They pull on at this point as George falls, that doesn't matter all too much. Cypher just taking a knee because his back foot hurts, carrying this so hard.
Yeah, and this is what we were afraid of, right, Sim? Was Shirog on this Farah just coming out and taking this guys, and Cypher just coming in and clicking those heads as best they could. And it's happening. We're seeing it. This is the worst case scenario. We need to bunker down if you're Dells Fells and come into this. You have Nano Visor ready. You can win a fight on that. If you can get as much free push, maybe take an eco to get yourself a little bit the rest of the way, you can do this. There's still a lot of hope here.
Yeah, there's a lot of time in the bank as well. Tygo needed to hit that, does not find anything as the dive is now well and truly online. Valkyrie out and TRQ falls. The Visor has to come out with no nano to aid it, and Quika is just having his Visor avoided by the rest of Chimpers. They're happy to sit back and wait for that to end up, and they will do that. The grab now comes online, the barrels will come down, but it's slightly disappointed, but will trade out with Quika, however, and Spickle is back on this Hanzo. All for looks a little desperate at the moment. It's Tygo trying to land that high noon. The grab comes out and it's big full fall and no kill full net from that Graviton as nobody can touch here at the moment as Quika will fall. The Mercy tries their best to touch, but it's all for naught as it's a matter of time. Cypher cleans him up, the Wrecking Ball is back for Tygo. His number is up as all the damage in the world is falling onto him. They finish with 3 minutes 42 in the bank.
It's unfortunate because this is what we were afraid of, right? They were just going to fall back into this comp that was going to be their bread and butter. They pulled out, okay, we're done messing around. We played some Hog Zarya. We tried some fun stuff. All right, we need to go back to winning here, and they just swapped in. You know, they showed a Widow, some success. You know, they showed it was a little bit weaker, and Pimp Chimpers just decided they wanted to come back and play again, and that's unfortunate for Dells Fells because you looked so good. You looked crisp for a minute. Tygo on this tank was a good move. I don't know about the Hog Zarya. It paid off for a little bit, but you had more success with that Reinhardt, and even here, the ball signal worked for them. I like that. Let's keep that going. That's great.
Yeah, the ball signal worked just fine. The only issue was when Pimp Chimpers turned up the tempo, right? When they opted to go Winston, and when they turned on that dive and Shurog used the concussive blast to get in on the dive as well, it was so lethal. And the problem is, Winston eats Sigma for breakfast, man. There's nothing that he can do. His kinetic grasp doesn't work on that Tesla cannon.
No.
He doesn't have any armor, which makes Winston's Tesla cannon do less damage. So he is primed for the taking here. That being said, it looks like the double main tank Dallas Fellas coming out again.
Yeah, well, like you said, when it comes to, you know, the Sigma was going to get chewed up, and I think that was the thought, is maybe we're not going to, maybe we're going to run that Winston. Oh, no. What an unfortunate.
That up. Yeah, nice environmental kill from him onto Schmickel. Sends one of his biggest threats back to the spawn room. Not for very long, however, he was right there anyways. The Stomper to the black. Sniper, however, is doing everything in his power to keep this alive. That is, I mean, the man is unstoppable at the moment as this Brawl breaking out on the point. Cypher finds another pick, is short there. The Moira Mercy healing duo might not be the best bet for Brawl here.
No. Well, you're in this weird hybrid at this point. Yeah, now you're giving up the ball, so you're going to this. Yeah, but it's the, like you said, that aggression out of Pimp Chippers. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. They, even if they appeared passive, they controlled that space they had. Cypher already has this high noon coming into play. Meanwhile, on the other side, there's not much to do anything about that, so this could be done over before we know it. Here's the overtime.
Well, Shurog will go down there, very dangerous, and Cypher has DPS. Loses both of his aim hacks there and will go down. The Shatter will want to take him down from Focus and handled very nicely by Shurog, blocks it rather deftly here. The payload will keep moving, but it's overtime. They got to keep touching here. Valkyrie also up in TRQ.
You need to, I mean, you have to use it, right? Otherwise, the push stops and you can't do anything. But the ults are coming in on the other side of Pimp Chimpers now, so this is already not looking good. Maybe you'll get it to A, but wouldn't count for much more. There's the barrage.
Oh, yeah, Nano Barrage comes out. They can only find one. The high noon will come out and the grab all on top. Everything in the kitchen sink will stop this payload moving here.
It was bound to happen, right? When you just have more ults, you press triangle, you win the game. Nothing exciting to see there. But it is worth noting that Dallas Fells did counter that aggression very well that came at them. They just have to do that again, but for another 3 minutes and 40 seconds. And if they can do that, they can make this a full series here. Otherwise, they're going to be looking at that 3-1, and that's not where you want to be. This was your pick, after all.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas Fellas had a decent defense on first point for Pimp Chimpers until Pimp Chimpers swapped onto their double bubble. So if Pimp Chimpers come right out the gate using the double bubble, I'm ready for battle.
But do we see anything? Are you expecting to see anything else at this point? Their double bubble has been so good. Find a weak link in that. Sim, find a weak link for me. Who do you target?
So true. I mean, we haven't even talked about Gasora, who has been phenomenal on this Zarya as well. It's because we're hyping up Quackers and George and Ariel with that pocket onto Shurog, who's been amazing, and Cypher finding incredible moments. But Gasora has been this nucleus of Pimp Chimpers, just manipulating the battlefield with really good bubbles, and also getting up to pretty high charge of being devastating themselves. It's a six-pronged threatening team.
Yeah, you know, you have to find that weak link or find something to focus out, and you need to put all your focus into it. I go going for an aggressive play here on this ball Sigma. I don't know what you're expecting to get. I like it, but I don't know what you're getting.
Possible, right? Maybe a move onto this bridge might let you start.
Oh no, he missed it!
Yeah, slightly missed times and is forced out here. Cypher now frontlining as Ariel will fall. That's certainly not the start you wanted, but Tygo flashbang slowing him down, getting out there, but will be just fine to escape his life. And that's the threat of the Wrecking Ball, right? So very durable. The sleep, the flashbang, the Panda handle will finish off. However, the anti-hit comes through also. Now that's cranked down and firing all cylinders of Pimp Chimpers at the moment, looking so very deadly as they power forward this Wrecking this instant. Now so deadly, and Gasora able to power forward 90 charge on this Zarya is going to hold this corner pretty confident.
Yeah, and they're looking pretty good. 3 ults coming in this last fight. They have to touch it. They have to make it here. But there's a lot coming online on both sides. Sim will have to is so very frightening. Near the back just the Wrecking Ball remains on the point. No one else can touch Queekers trying to on this Tracer. But all is said and done. Pimp Chimpers take the map, are 3-1 up, and it is match point. So it's unfortunate. This has been the comp that's been running them and unfortunately beating them down every single map sim. And you have some shining moments if you're Dels Fells that's coming through and giving them the stop, but you just aren't putting enough answers into it. Your Wrecking Ball looks great. I think the Wrecking Ball is a great look for them. It's really causing them to pull their attention. Everybody has to look. Suddenly you have to pay attention to your supports and whoever's in your backline, and you need to do more with that. You almost kind of have to counter dive them in some ways, because that's the only way you're going to really pressure them out.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. The Tiger Wrecking Ball just baited out Anti-Nade, Sleep, and Flashbang from the team. All Tygo needed was for the rest of Delos Fellas to push up on that payload at that point and take a fight when all the cooldowns have been depleted. Your Wrecking Ball is going to be back in the fight in 5-6 seconds. Like, it doesn't matter that he died, but you guys can trade him out, or you can find picks. So there's a slight disconnect, and that's kind of been the series theme for Delos Fellas at the moment. I think they're just not quite in tandem with each other just yet.
No, the teamwork is a little bit off somewhere in the middle of this, and that's the unfortunate part about this. Both these teams playing incredibly well, but Pimp Chimpers just as a whole unit, like we said, find a weak link. I might say you have to get rid of Aerial, because that's been pretty clutch to winning some of these fights for them. But like, find a weak link and try exploiting it in them. They're too good of a unit, and their focus fire has been too good to really stop that. And Dels Fells just hasn't been the same on the other side. Maybe you can work that into something for the future. Maybe you could play more of that Death Brawly kind of Hog Zarya comp, where like everybody high sustains. But either way, you need to find something and exploit it. And I think the Wrecking Ball is the key for them going forward. As we move into map 5, which I believe is our control map. As a control?
It is indeed. I believe, however, we are taking a short intermission once more. It is match point for the Pimp Chimpers. Delos Fellas have a tall order on their hands if they want to bring this back and almost reverse sweep this series. You're watching the Tier 3 EU CGL Grand Finals. Don't go anywhere. We will be back in just a moment. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have got the Tier 3 EU Finals here on CGL, and it has been nothing but amazing so far. Pimp Chimpers are at their match point, but Delos Fellas, despite the scoreline, looking pretty darn good. What do you think, Soav? Do they bring it back?
You know me. I would love to see Delos Fellas bring this back, and I would agree with you. The scoreline doesn't really represent this game well. I say this a lot, but this one I feel is a pretty, I would stand by this. Map 1, forever maps ago, looked really close back and forth. Pimp Chimpers were pretty just a tip ahead of them, but no map was really like a blowout. And thankfully, as opposed to a lot of the other EU maps we've seen in these finals, this isn't just a straight blowout. So we're kind of lucky here to see, a good contended match. And as we go to Busan, I actually kind of like this one a little better. You limit the Pharah that's been running wild on Pimp Chimpers, and Delos Fellas has a chance to maybe exploit some of those things that they were using with the Doomfist and a lot of those other odd picks that really could give them a chance to come back into this.
Yeah, and the map we're looking at the moment on Busan is really favored to that Wrecking Ball Sigma comp. The Delos Fellas were actually playing on Rialto just now, so if they want to bring that back out, they certainly can do it.
Yeah. I agree, and I think that should be something that they should consider bringing out. That worked so well for them. The brawl hasn't been too successful, and you need something to deal with this double bubble, the Winston Zarya dive that's been coming into you all game. You need to do something about that if you're Delos Fells.
Indeed you do. It is match point, and both teams are ready to rock and roll on Busan as we kick off what could be the final map of the evening. Pimp Chimpers just need this one, and they're going to take the series. I mean, so like you said already, who do they even target on the side of Pimp Chimpers to make this winnable for them?
I think the linchpin here, and we've talked a little bit about this, I think the linchpin is George Sim. I think if you can get if you can force them to expend all of that utility and force them out of the game, sure, you might have res available, but that's a big majority of the healing that's enabling Quackers to go just super deep. That's enabling She-Rog to get the focus and the additional support from Mercy, that Princess Ariel. And if you can maybe take out George, that might be the way to do it. On the other side, I think And I know we've had some change come in. Ryan Man coming in for tank. Tygo not here, which is a bit interesting. They were very instrumental in this first win because this is where they first won it. Was that yeah. I think
they certainly were. Yeah, I think unfortunately he had to leave, and he has been a shining star on the side of Dallas. Yeah. I mean, he was the one who pulled out the Doomfist that worked really well.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. I think there's still a lot of hope to be had, but I think that's an unfortunate thing to them as they run their way onto the point.
This is a really nice comp from Dallas Fellas, though. They want to get in on the Winston and punish him with this Reaper and the Lucio's being used. It's going to not net them anything as Shurog is in the sky. Will take out Tweaker as well. Lengthy you'll miss it once again, but Pimp Chimpers are coming up aces at the moment. It is making it rain on Pimp Chimpers' side here. Cypher will finish off. Oh, it's Shurog actually. TRQ, and point is unlocked.
And it's unfortunate. They had such great success initially with this kind of a bunker composition that really forced the dive to come to them and play. And the fact that they haven't returned to that is a little unfortunate for Dallas Fellas. Because really, if you can force the monkey into your team, you can then take advantage of that Reaper as opposed to just trying to run him right down. He's just gonna get fanned like that.
Well, that was an enormous anti-game coming through onto the Dallas Fellas, but Pimp Chimpers seemed to get a little too far forward and found themselves with their pants around their ankles and do lose that point. The flip is there now. Shurog and Ariel forced to take a long walk off a short pier and go back to spawn.
Yeah, they caught the train and they'll be back when they come back to spawn, and they'll be fine. They have a couple ults in the bag. Coming into that Nano, we could see the Electric Cowboy come out, or just the Nano Primal. Both of those could easily win on their own. If Quacker is able to keep the pressure onto the Quackers, so we may not see much use out of that.
Potentially. I mean, Gasora was getting nanoed on Rialto as well, so you could see the high charge Nano Zarya just doing an ungodly amount of damage. I mean, Pimp Chimpers are really hanging around here. They're really just posturing up.
I think they're just trying to figure out what to do. Because we do see Cypher go over to this sim, and I guess they're going to try to play that aggression that they're used to. It did give, you're right though, it did give them a lot of time. Quacker's just going to go down immediately.
Shurog takes out Tweaker immediately and has this barrage ready to go. The Nano will be committed onto Quacker's here. Just clean through this ball, which are all going to play so tightly nipped. Barrow's ready to go. Shurog eyeing it up, climbing up the mountain. Will find one there. Not the final blow, but getting the Moira very, very low in. As picks now very convincingly in Chimpers' favor.
Well, whatever they were doing in Spawn seems to have paid off. So who are we to judge, Tim? Maybe there was some sort of a ritual going on there. They are going to play a bit aggressively here as it works into this choke, though. But they, with only Garosa's Graviton Surge coming up, and 3 on the other side. The fear for
right in there, double shatters both tanks and takes out Quackers there. Cypher will go to Tweaker now, who is deep in enemy territory. He does find himself back with the rest of his pool now, and the flip comes back through. It is a lot of percentage on the board for Dallas Fellas because of how long Pimp Chimpers took to decide what they wanted to do.
And that's what you want if you're Dallas Fellas. You want to take apart one of those pieces. Quaker's gonna look for this. We'll see when they go for it, when they come for that. But you want to find that one cog in the mechanic that you can punish. The Winston dives in, gives the bubble, gives the everything. You need to break the machine open, and that was what you did with that. And that's a great play. Keep doing that, and you can win that if you're Dallas Fellas. You didn't spend much to do it.
Absolutely. The grab will come out, but it's sent a little bit too high. It doesn't net them anything there as Quackers will fall. The overtime is triggered with Cypher. The only man available who can touch you is the Death Blossom will be left on top of Sora here. Nothing that anyone on Pimp Chimpers could do, and that was an unfortunate Graviton surge.
Dallas Fellas just seems to be very good at control, and maybe it's just because that's because there's so much on the line. Maybe the pressure's finally on here. But if you're Dallas Fellas, this is it. You're doing it. Keep it up. Find that piece in the machine that's keeping this going, where you're getting, the turnover and the ult charge coming to Pimp Chimpers, and keep breaking it, and you're good. This Reaper pick has been so very good, and it's unfortunate that it's going to get a little bit shut down as they swap off just to the Reinhardt. I guess all good things must end at some point, but we'll see. Cypher back onto this Junkrat, though, is dangerous.
Ooh.
That's what that really put them into this. And we may have an actual big game on our... This may go to 3, Sim.
Yeah, all eyes on Ryan when Sniper's on the Junkrat. Can they get those big defense matrix moments to save their team? At the moment, Chimpers are forced back as the speed boost seems to be a lot better from Dallas Fellas, and who are now backed into a slight corner here, but no casualties either side just yet. Cypher having a whale of a time lapping points in over the top here. Can't find them anything just yet, but very tentative pushing either broad here. Nobody wants to commit just yet, but a quick cheeky check on the right-hand side for Kuka there. See if anyone's noticed that they're trying to get onto the right-hand side. They will do that, and now Cypher is into the side of Dallas Fella, and this is dangerous now as Kuka will drop the point. There's only 5 players for the side of Dallas Fella to fight in this brawl. Jurog has Kuka's number there. Will take him out. A drop the point through for Pimp Chimpers, and they have the first objective. It doesn't even seem like Dallas Fella want to contest this.
No, you spent so much. We spent a lot of time posturing next to that point. No one really capped it, and then that was kind of what gave it up. Right? Was someone went down from Dallas Fellas to try to contest it and capture it, thinking they had it. The whole team needed to drop. When you move someone aside and you make that fight 5v6, you're almost throwing in some ways.
Yeah, oh, Short is in trouble with the high noon from Shurog. Finds 2, that's beautiful from him. But back on his hand, though, finds 2, keeps this out. Will get 4 arrow onto Kasora, and now it is the fish in a barrel for Kuika and for Schmickel here, who are on this high ground and can just keep raining bullets down from above. It's forcing the shatter out from Crackers to get something done. The beat is late and will not save Crackers as well. It will keep going, and the tactical visor is forced out just to get this done. Now the time comes out.
Just
we'll find back and forth. The pendulum swings. Dallas Fellas now look like they don't have much left in the tank. Kuika says the whole time as he goes for this dragons here. Cypher falls up onto the high ground to deal with that threat. And Ryan lets the self-destruct loose up into the air that finds Kasora. It is so contested back and forth, and Pimp Chimpers finally look like they're thinned out enough that this is winnable for Dallas Fellas. There's still 70% on the point, and so much invested from both sides.
They needed to take that a little bit sooner. The fight was I hate to say it, but the fight felt won a minute or 2 ago when they really had the man advantage, and they just let them get that percentage of this whole time, and that may come back to cost them. It was a long, drawn-out fight, and that's exactly what you want if you are Pimp Chimpers, is to try to get yourself to 1-fight territory.
And pretty even ultimates at the moment. Pimp Chimpers are not hanging around. Shatter from here gets the better of his opposing main tank. No casualties come down. Mickle will try and rectify that issue as Quark is so very low, will fall there as well. They are holding on to this, and that shatter was huge.
Yeah, that shatter was big. It caught 3 or 4, including the opposite Reinhardt, which just gave you free reign in, and that's what you want from. That's a dream shatter if you're a Reinhardt player.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep them in check here. There's not a lot from Dallas Fellas though. They do have the sound barrier for the graviton surge coming out, and that may be the big thing. Big shatter coming out though.
Oh, the big shatter will force the beat, however, keep everyone healthy. And now the grab and the self-destruct over the top. The dragons in as well. All the kitchen things invested in this fight, but only one casualty is Aerial will fall. Pimpers cannot push this without their Moira.
This is not, you know, if you're Pimp Chimpers, this isn't optimal for you. You're playing a little bit out of your normal, and that's the thing, is you're playing with Aerial on this Moira. It's a little more flimsy. You have your escape, but you don't have res. George on this Lucio looks good, but not their Ana good. And this may be in that punish you in the long run.
Oh, engaging with defense. Swurog goes on that flank and finds the 2 high noons. The DPS line of Pimp Chimpers once again coming up clutch. When their team need it most, will take out the tactical visor and Schmickel on the high ground as well. And now Kuika is left alone to try and defend this point as the lone hand, so the Deagle will touch, but to no avail. Will get immediately demaxed. And now Kuika has to run away with his tail tucked between his legs.
This is it. This is the last. Oh no! Shurog is 2 in there and going to that. That's huge. That gives them basically a whole other fight to do it. They have to touch because this is coming into 1 fight, Sim. And with only the shatter coming out on the side of Dallas Fellas, they need to make it a big one and a fat one for sure.
They certainly do, and Sjord doesn't hide away, but TRQ, whilst it was off screen, does get taken down by Cypher, so no Moira is available, but Pimp Chimpers with the spawn advantage going into this. The shatter comes down and it is blocked. Doesn't find anything there, just by a nose here. Unbelievable there. The Dragons on the point in desperation to clear out some space, but Quackers finds Ryan there and will fall down. The shatter will get however, and Quackers goes to the pin, will take out Sjord, and Shuro will fall on the side of Pimp Chimpers, but so many players available, but then the Zealous fellas have to touch their footsie and characters as the handle will fall as Quaker goes down and nobody touches. We're going to a map 3 here.
And that's why you have the Junkrat, right? To prevent people from really just coming right into you, to countering your aggression for that. And you look so good. If you're Dallas Fells, a couple minor errors is keeping you out of this, and this is it. This could be the end right here, Stim. Any decision is the most important decision made.
Yeah, and again, it seems like Cypher and Shurog are playing so well together right now. Pimp Chimpers are a tremendous team, do not get me wrong by any stretch of the imagination, but Cypher and Shurog, when there's been a moment that Pimp Chimpers are looking a little dicey, Cypher or Shurog pull out a big ultimate, and it is winning the maps.
Both of them have turned up every single one of this game, and there it is. They're just going to go back to this comp that's been winning them the game, back and forth. And if Delsfelds don't have the answer to this, they might be expecting this fire again. Though they do have two long ranges that could deal with it. But Ana Moira is an interesting take here. I'm not sure about that. I think you might want the Lucio or maybe even the Mercy here to mirror that. We'll have to see what this gives them, Sim.
Yeah, you actually need this Lucio to get in, but Quackers goes way into the backline there and does find himself in a lot of trouble, but Shurog is with him and will take out Quaker there. A lot of burst potential immediately dissipated for the side of Dallas Fellas. Cypher gets away with murder there and is also in their backline with so much audacity to be where he is. Gets bailed out by a wonderful bubble by Kasura, and the point is pretty convincingly Pimp Chimpers.
And that's the thing, is it throwing if everybody does the same thing and everybody commits to the same thing? No, because then you just made a success and it was a team decision, and that's what they did. Quackers did go long, but he was never really out of the fight. It was never too far out. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he had his supports there. The res is going to come out early, and that you want that for this upcoming fight, and you may regret that if you're Pimp Chimpers for taking that early pick.
Yeah, Pimp Chimpers together strong, but Gasora was caught on the outside there. Go down, the barrage coming out, but Rika will take him out with Storm Arrow. No casualties come on the side of Dallas Fellas after that barrage. And it's going to be Storm Guard as long as you can here for as much percentage as possible, but Dallas are having none of it in the Wolf at this point.
Dallas are finally, they're looking good. They're focusing out targets, they're coming together, they're punishing the dives and taking the resources right away. They're coming into their own, and I don't know what it was that happened to make this work, but it's coming together for them. And if they can keep this up for a few more fights, this could go on.
Yeah, you have to notice as well, it's not Smickle on the Soldier who's dealing with the Barrow, it's Quaker. Quaker on the Hanzo is having a fantastic game, he isn't missing shots. The Deadeye now out for Cypher, doesn't find the pin just yet, but the long game might do that! Fine, and the sleep onto the Diva means that Viant's head is left wide open for 12 o'clock time, and he will be taken out by that Deadeye. Now, once again, the pendulum swings in the favor of Pimp Chimpers as Cypher is in the backline, so Smickle does not get a chance to recontest this, but Cypher is slightly in favor of Dallas Fellas, if they do have slightly more on the point.
Cypher is broken into my house, he's in my backline, he has High Noon. Who is here to stop this man? Because he is just walking along and just having his way with everything.
Yeah, but let's point out as well, though, George made that High Noon work.
That's true, though.
Like,
you're absolutely
he found
right.
the sleep onto the Diva, which
Absolutely.
otherwise there's no value.
There's nothing.
Nice hand early there. The
Big grab dragons.
Everyone held the intact grab to try and stave off any aggression that may have happened. Quackers already has this high wall, big shatter comes out from Sword there, and the beat from TRQ means it is go time. Everyone on Pimp Chippers is so very low, and now Spickle finds himself on this off angle with this visor ready to go, and chooses to use it here. A big sleep and a Diva bomb from Ryan to stall this out even more. It is enormous. Finds 3, and now Spickle is caught between a rock and a hard place. Won't be able to do anything, and that is the flip. Unbelievable.
I was really expecting Smiggle to take that visor. You had them on the off angle. It looked like the perfect time to just press the visor and go. But who needs that when Ryan's just going to drop a 3K bomb and turn to fight yourself? You need that coming up. You only have that visor if you're Dels Fells, and you need that to be big right here because there's a barrage, a high nuke coming in, and this is it.
Oh, big high nuke and a big anti-name here, but the visor will come out. Shoerog down, and TRQ also falls. Schwickel finding nothing on that visor. Unbelievable. Cypher once again goes on walkabout and will find himself 2-3 picks there, and just the lone leader on the boot. But it is all down to this one final fight.
Unfortunate. There's still time for one contest, and the board's pretty clear. You do have a lot of. It's almost a fair match here, Sim, and it's just gonna be now down to team play. Who focuses out better? Who manages to build that last critical ultimate to keep this going? And Dels Fells need this to be the play where they come together and play as the big team.
Yeah, Fjord already in, and cooldowns expended to get Caucus right in there. The speaker will fall, the man that the Dallas fella has been looking to in the moment of need. Now Gasora and Cypher are getting their hands dirty. We'll find 2 picks apiece as the Delta run comes up, and Fernando comes out as well. Princess Fury will fall to that Demon Woman, uncharacteristic hiccup coming out from them, but overtime ticks down. Chimpers make it rain, and they will walk away as the PS4 EU Tier 3 champion.
Well, it's a terrible day for rain unless you're Pimp Chimpers, in which case it's a great day because you made it rain all day. And Pimp Chimpers really just came out on top of that throughout the whole thing. They looked a little shaky in the middle fight there. A couple of those times they just didn't look great and too comfortable on that Ryan Zarya, but they managed to pull it back and win on that teamwork and that aggression that's really been pushing them this whole way through, Sam.
Absolutely. I mean, Pimp Chimpers from the get-go looked like the slightly more well-oiled machine when it came to all 6 players. They just had a slight edge when it came to synergy, when it came to ult rotations, that sort of thing. Pimp Chimpers had the edge. I mean, Dallas Fellas looked great individually. Quika looked really good on that final map. Did not want to go down without a fight. And the credit to Dallas Fellas, even though it's 4-1, it was a much, much closer series than the scoreline would imply, right?
100%. I think had we just seen a different performance just look back to Hanamura, had the Torbjorn not hit and landed up there, and that one thing had come through, we would be looking at 3-2 right now and going to another map. But sometimes you just can't predict that, and those are those kinds of small, minuscule errors that come back and are important here in these kinds of finals matches, Sim.
Absolutely it is. But when all is said and done, when the chips are down, Pimp Chimpers take it away 4-1, and credit to them, they have all been so consistent this entire finals. We've sang the praises of the backline. I mean, George landing some anti-nades, some clutch sleeps. Ariel just being immortal. I missed the patch when Murphy was immortal, but clearly Ariel is playing on it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think she died once to the D.Va bomb in that last map, and that just seemed something must have just happened there conveniently. Maybe a pixel was showing, and that was just the wrong place at the wrong time. But yeah, I don't think we've ever seen her in the kill feed. It's so hard when you have such a well-oiled machine like this to even pick how do you pick the outstanding cog in the machine? And that's our task right now. And do we change? We talked a little. Is there a change?
I think it could have gone either way.
Yeah.
I really think that although Pimp Chimpers all played phenomenally, you could have arguably given it to any member of that team, and it would have been justifiable. We were talking about Shoerog for the break, and we were also talking about Cypher. I'm going to put you as a deer in the headlights. Who would you give it to after that match?
You do this to me. I would still give it to Shoerog, I think, because even though Cypher really came to life in a couple of those maps, it wasn't through the whole course, that we really saw Shoerog. Like Shoerog played well consistently throughout of it. There were just moments where Cypher just played better, but there was never a time where Shoerog was not a threat.
No, so, I am completely happy with that, to give it to Shoerog.
Yeah.
That Para was a thorn in Dallas Fella's side the entire series it was pulled out, right?
1,000%. And it didn't matter what they tried to throw at it. They tried the McCree, they tried the Soldier, they threw a Reaper, they threw a Sombra, they threw a Torbjorn. Every single thing was met with just I didn't know Farah was also immortal on that patch too. When did we make Pharmacy the winning thing? But I guess this is console, and that's just the way it is. So yeah. I think it's gonna be Shirog because they just played incredibly well the whole 5 maps.
Yeah, and the thing is on Busan as well, Dallas Fellas realized that if you're playing a Farah, you can play a little slowly, right?
Yes.
So Dallas Fellas wanted to turn up the tempo. They put the brawl in, they made it so that they would just get on top of this Winston who was trying to dive the backline. They put a Reaper in. But when Shirog just isn't missing rockets, that entire playstyle falls apart. When Shirog gets the first pick on a brawl comp, that should not be happening. Either something goes wrong or Shirog was insane. And I think that despite them trying to counter-pick Pimp Chimpers running Shirog on the Farah, Shirog still popped off. I think we have to give it to Shirog.
1,000%. And we talked a little bit about it. The greatest success that they had for the Dallas Fells was when they played it slow, waited, found the pick, and then moved in. They found the one pick that was patient and gave them the opportunity to run on that 6v5. And once they had that, they were able to win fights by that. When they stopped doing that is when they really struggled against it. Even if it was just, so maybe this was a case of you have to let Shirog go and focus harder somewhere else to force their own attention. There's a whole bunch of theory behind this, but the real thing is that I feel like they tried to match that aggression, and that maybe wasn't what they needed to do here.
Yeah, it certainly put Dallas Fellas in an uncomfortable position, and they weren't used to playing up against such a level of aggression potentially coming out from the Farah. It's almost like you can hear the comms on Dallas Fella just being like, she shouldn't be here. She shouldn't even be here. Yeah. So the fact that Shirog gets away with as much as they do when they're playing that Farah, they have to get the MVP in my eyes. Yeah. And I think there's so many honorable mentions on the team. George being phenomenal on the Ana. You had Ariel being unkillable on Mercy. You have Gisora, that rock in the middle of the teams, the Zarya. You had Quackers being incredible on that Winston, just timing engages perfectly, going in on those nanos with George as well. And, Cypher was just a nut on that McCree. I think they really all could have had it.
There was no bad player on this team, and to have to pick, like we said, to have to pick the one is so hard. But that all said, Dallas Fells coming into this final played an incredible match themselves. They really showed why they should have been here and why they earned to take that second place. And both of these teams, this is their first season in for this. I think you put a lot of this division on notice that you need to keep an eye out for these teams and watch out for what they're bringing to next year.
Absolutely. That is going to just about do it for us over here at CGL. Any closing thoughts from you, Zoa?
It's been a pleasure to host a lot of these EU games on PS4 and Xbox, and I look forward to seeing everybody in the next season. Take care, be safe, and remember to wear your mask while we still need to.
Absolutely. There is coming up more adventurous finals on CGL1, so make sure that you hit that follow button so that you are always up to date when those are going live. Thank you so very much for watching. Congratulations, Pimp Chimpers. Commiserations, Dallas Fellas. I have been Simbabble. I've been joined by Soav. So long and good night.